All right there now, 34 minutes past 8 in the morning. It is that segment of the show where we head into our business tips to let you know which opportunities are there for everyone, for each one of you, when it comes to helping you out when you're going to start up a business, when it comes to helping you out to set up a successful business for all of you. This is an opportunity that does not only apply to the entrepreneurs out there, but also all businessmen who have also been quite in the business sector for time. Maybe you've had challenges with how you're dealing with some of the issues. You can pick 1 or 2 tips here to help you for a smooth running of your business. Now,
even sustaining your life, your daily life, you can actually pick 1 or 2 that you can always relate with. And we're still referring to the top 100 business tips from the top business advisors across the globe who have actually succeeded in their businesses. And we're on 55 or our 55th?
Yes,
55th.
55th.
55th tip, yes, and that is creating and publishing great content. Now, blogging and creating great content is key to your long-term success online. Beyond that, and content can be far more active or effective long-term. Now, you can also create tip collection, best practices for the industry, or top 10 lists. Okay, here they are giving you a tip of, within a tip they are giving you other tips on how you can effectively create and publish content. You can list down, first of all, let's begin with listing down like your content. You can list down some of the content you want to create, or some of the ideas you're interested in, or ventures you want to actually interest yourself in online. Is it online selling? You list down number 1. Is it online blogging? Because bloggers have got money. Is it blogging anyway? You list that.
Some have money.
Okay.
There are some that don't have.
He has many bloggers.
So there are some who have. There's some who actually having. Those are some of the people. Most so if you have a huge following, or maybe you may not have a huge following, but when you're bringing out creative content that is appealing to the society, that is how you're tapping into some money. Then there are others who are self-imposed bloggers. Someone comes out and thinks, if I post news happening in Uganda, I'm fit to be a blogger. So those are the ones that.
So who is a blogger to you?
A blogger to me, a blogger is someone who's giving out, in my own understanding, someone who gives out information, but using also someone who writes information in written. It's like newspapers, but this is someone who does written information and posts it on the online platforms or on the internet. Okay. So it's someone you don't see, but someone who writes down. He can write down a story, and then you can follow it up on the different social media platforms. But mainly, it is more of I would say a blogger is more like a reporter, but a reporter who's doing an online reporting without his face being recognized, but just his work being.
Sometimes their faces are recognized, but your definition is very right, because it's just a vocabulary, and where Wikipedia identifies it as someone who writes regularly for an online journal or a website, like you said. And also you must have rating assets that belongs to you. You know, now we have copyright issues, so and you must have. That is
the reason as to why our bloggers are not real bloggers.
Okay.
Because of the copyright.
You mean they copy and
they
paste?
Just copy. Someone copies a story, or even someone just copies the whole picture without even asking for, rightful owner. Someone screenshotting it, like,
without even actually tagging the owner or crediting the source, which is not actually
and most of them are actually
good,
giving out false information just to get following.
Okay.
That is why we have a very big problem and a big challenge with our bloggers in Uganda.
Okay, anyway, that was a highlight on blogging. But how can you choose a very effective blog or blogging entity and then also start, posting data or relevant publishments onto your content regarding online? How can you help the people to get great publishments online in terms of their businesses?
Well, first, you can also start up a blogging post. Or you can open up a blogging
company
page for your own self.
By the way, it just slipped my mouth, but it can work.
It does
You can open up a blogging company,
for your
and
own
then
self.
you get bloggers who
to work for you.
Yes.
And then as you promote your business, those are some of the bloggers that are actually active in Uganda. Some of them have a company where you have like 3 bloggers working on a daily. So it's like a daytime job for someone to be writing. So the small amount of money you receive is what you're going to pay them. It's like a casual time or free time job. Someone just sits down, writes, but as long as you're writing relevant information that can tap into an audience, then that is better. And if you're starting up a blogging company for your clothing line, you can also work as well, or for your business entity. You can still publish your business on that blogging, the blogging pages as well, and it's definitely going to help you. The more followers you're earning as you're picking up, you definitely your business is also coming to work up within a short period of time as well.
Very well. And still moving on to our 56th.
Yes. This one says
this one I think does not need, how do they call abakazigo?
Hey, Karina.
Okay, you say let's challenge, you say
50.
Oh my god, no, you say 53. 56. No. Yes.
56. Yeah, I can. I've tried. 56. Okay, now 56th tip says track and assess your advertising. Now, most of the time, small businesses are not aware of the advertising channel they are putting resources into as producing the results. Now, tracking and evaluating the progress and overall effectiveness of your campaign is key to its success. Now, a good advertising campaign, as we have said, is one that adjusts over time based on data. It is more and more accurate than analyzing your campaign data and experimenting with changes that will yield excellent results, especially on platforms such as Google adverts.
How have you even found assessing advertisement in the country here? Let us first look at advertisement assessment in the country, whether online, whether mainstream, whether door-to-door advertisement, because we have door-to-door advertisement. Like, how do you find our advertisement system in the country here?
Well, I would be honest with you. To me, I think if I'm going to advertise, I would choose mainstream media to advertise. Reason being, advertising, in our advertising, people have got really good skills when it comes to advertising. Someone comes up with an advert that definitely is going to make huge sound in the country. You would take, we've seen a number of adverts, but according to the way people are coming up with adverts, I think I don't want to over encourage people to use social media.
Social media adverts?
You know why? Because on YouTube, if you're using YouTube, in most cases there are a lot of adverts, but a number of people skip these adverts. They feel like it's wasting their time. And someone
there are others that they are not skipped. It is a must. You have to watch it for
those are the only good advantages about
30 seconds.
For those 30 seconds. But then there are others that after watching for maybe 1 or 2 seconds.
Do they even reach 30 seconds? 5.
It's
They're
like
always
5 to 10.
5.
In fact, 5.
Less than 5 seconds. Actually.
So after that, there are others that they would say after watching for 3 seconds, they say skip advert. You would say how many people would skip them. Sometimes even if I'm also using YouTube, I'll say I'm going to skip this one.
I always skip adverts. Come on.
So that is why with me. But if it's mainstream,
still it doesn't allow you to just skip. You know, it hits it gives you some seconds, like 2 seconds, and then it gives you an option.
But nevertheless, you should use advertising, because the way I've followed up, most of the people with advertising. That is why most people give advertising with skits. Skits goes with the advert as well. It's like a simple movie. It's like you've seen the MTN sent you advert. We're even running a Blue Magic advert, so you could see the way they are singing Blue Magic. So at the end of the day, when someone is looking for Blue Magic, you just remember the name. And I would say advertising in the country is actually taking a very good step. That is why if we are to assess our advertisement, any businessman should choose any I would say not choosing a lot of social media, but
it depends also on your target pool. Like which is your audience, or what is your target actually that you look forward for this particular service or product.
On social media, that would be a very good catch.
If you're advertising, for example, for church fellowship, Door to door, I think works so
It does
much.
work,
Like
yes.
not
Even
mainstream,
even during the Sunday congregations.
Yes. So you see, like door to door is working so much for fellowships and for particular areas also.
The regional, the area public systems.
The public systems also do work for. It depends on if you're advertising for funeral. Do they even advertise for funeral?
Funeral. No, some radio stations do advertise.
No, what will be radio? In some areas, kati waliwo something that has actually come. Okay, help me here and give me actually shine a light on this one. Because I see some people where I stay actually waliwo chiyitamu oli nayitamu ali ku pichi ayina ekizinda n'agamba oba maama gundi yafiiriddwa ki okuziika kwa saawa bwezi kati advertising
local way.
I know, but I know it could be effective for that particular area. In my mind, I'm like, are these people paid? Because to me, already I'm looking at funeral. It's like a funeral entity. This is sorrow and sadness. Like I feel like, is he doing it just for sympathy, or that is his contribution? Or kuita munga alanga, or they pay them. Do you have any cue about that? Or you can also tell us in your community if they pay these people. Abaita munga balanga, mama gundi yafiiriddwa obono yafiiriddwa okuzika.
What I know, those people are mainly paid on the LC fare. These allowances, a few allowances for someone to come there, because remember, it's like you're gathering information for the whole community. Ntikati nga chairman asobola otula ne council ne bakugirako akasente akatonotono akasobola okuyisa. No committee, si chairman,
maybe no committee,
a local committee
around the funeral.
Among the things that they will sit down in meetings za council oba tugambe bajja tulabagambe kati omuwi w'ebirango. That is very key. Kubajjukira baba bajja gamba omuwi w'ebirango waffe at least tunamuwangayo 15 wiki. Oba ne bagamba tujjamu wayo omutwalo wiki atukubira akala
wiki awo bato advertising ze okufa.
Because they do advertise on a daily, so
this is funny. Death has killed a cow. Okay, let's move on. But that was by the way. And still moving on that particular one, I still have a feeling, I think they gather on that particular day of funeral and then babalako kumafutobo oyo muvugi webirango, but not planning on a weekly basis. Apple.
No, basobola olanga ne bagamba ku wiki tulinamu wayo mutwalo oba emitwalo.
Maybe ngalanga bintu bilala not.
Ebefuuse radio ya kyalo.
This is so funny.
Many radio ya kyalo otunula ate people ate abasajja abalanga ku bitundu baba bamanyi okulanga. When we're at school,
yes, I understand and I agree. But also moving on advertisement, it's a very serious one. And we also want to encourage you that you can do your own advertisement using your phone, whether it is Kabiriti phone ziranga, let me tell you, if you have a memory card. At a memory card, oyita mu town, 15. I don't know whether wajitusa call over ebanfu. No, I mean memory cards zebatunde bwetane
tane. Ebyo betwalinga tukyali bato nga Kabiriti ze trending. Lwakuba wana abamu bagenda bazifiiriza naye ebiseera bisinga abantu abo bakoze basinga okukozesa.
Zikabiriti. Yeah, you can advertise with Kabiriti. With Katoch or okay, the small phone, the Mapesa phone. Honestly, go buy a memory card. Because you can have an idea, especially students. If you're a student or pupil, even we've had advertisement for pupils, only children or young kids or even for the youth. You can start recording yourself. I mean, I used to do that, like when I had my phone, my Mapesa phones, my phone, I used to record myself. Like you just find call recording. I record myself. I'm reading news. I was very little, by the way. I record myself reading news. I record myself presenting. Like I record myself doing advertisement. So you can still do the same, and you can send it somewhere. Now there are sharing platforms. you can share it, and you never know, you may be the next VJ Max. I don't know if you have had that VJ Max.
By these days, those phones are actually being used for. They even have some WhatsApp with them. They can easily access internet. Hey. So they're
Which
really
WhatsApp are you talking about?
These Mapesa phones.
Yeah, they can access internet and Facebook,
yes,
but
advanced.
Very well. Still moving on to our next tip, where make marginal gains. Now here, an exciting approach is taken by David, who is also a coach of British cycling team, who also coined the expression of aggregation of marginal gain. Now, what is a marginal gain? This means you find some areas where you can do better competition, and also accumulations of whole small advantage tips, and also balance in your favor. Now you can just hope that you will hit one big idea that will defeat the competition. Now you need to be 1% to 2% better in many areas. This one is a good one. Marginal gains.
Because with the marginal gains is more better at assessing yourself as well. It helps you a lot when it comes to assessing. What do we speak about when you assess? We've been talking about how you assess your business and see how you're gaining. Maybe you may not be gaining as much as you want, but the small gains are definitely also giving you more. Not only accreditation, but also giving you a way to understand that maybe this is what I'm doing. If I change this line, then I'll definitely hit my targets.
So this one is getting onto an individual basis, like
Yes,
as an entrepreneur, or as an innovator, or as a creator, or as an inventor. How do you rate yourself in regards to, the developments you're bringing out to the people, or even the services you're providing? First of all, you need to consider, what are some of the considerations you need to know? One, from me, communication. How is your communication skill, or how am I communicating? Then two, I can say body language also matters, by the way,
because it's also part of the communication.
Yes.
Sometimes you may be communicating to someone, trying to show them that you're on good terms with them, but the way your body responds is all your signals, all your body signs are not relating to how or to what you're trying to tell them. So that is also very key.
Very well. Like I'm saying, body language. Another one that you can personally rate yourself or wedge yourself with is I think customer care. How is my customer care in businesses? So these are the major two, I think: communication and customer care, like reaching out to people. They are really key engagements that you should take on upon yourself. And also not forgetting how you take feedback. Because now there is when we are going to give you feedback, so it depends on now the critics, or whether you take it personal or actually it's going to be helping your businesses. Because you tell someone feedback and then they're like, you get. So you tend to lag yourself behind if you're not willing to learn. And they say that learning actually continues day by day. It's a daily process that you can never, let down. Because if you do not learn something daily, at least I learn something daily. Honestly, I'm not lying. I learn something daily.
No, we all learn something.
Wait, do we really all?
No,
there are some people who really don't learn. Okay, they don't want.
They're
maybe.
Just defiant. In the way omuntu ekintu newe kimutuukako leero yagamba kya bulijjo naye if at all you learn something, it makes you understand how life revolves all the time, because every new day comes up with some new challenge. May not be a challenge, but something you can even achieve something. With achieving, you can still learn from what you're achieving. So that is why I say with a new challenge comes with a lesson as well.
And also continuing still on marginal gains, or how do you also rate yourself? Because when you need to be a 1 to 2, that is where also this one also calls for a plan B in our businesses. When you find out, because if you're developing rating ratios, for example, after every week, business ene etambudde etya n'otandika okuva customer reyaze okuva lwe watunze okuva lwe wa supply nze okuva lwe wa communicating nze online okuva lwe wakoze distribution, like you rate yourself, and then from maybe a 0 to 5 or from a 0 to 10 you can decide maybe to say my distribution of the product or service, from 0 to 10 I scored a 3 today. So when you scored a 3, that is where the 1% or 2% comes from. What do you need to do if you have scored a 3 to improve next day you go to 4? Or what do you need to reduce if you're actually on 0? How do I reduce my my incapabilities as an entrepreneur or as business entity so that I can hit a 10%? So these are some of the ratings you can consider. And how do you consider the ratings? You can draft it on a piece of paper. We have got now, things are easier with Google. They're actually rate pieces that are on Google. You can just go to Google and download some rate pieces. They will show you on a 0 to 5 or 0 to 10 or 5 to 10 or even 20, depends on the entity that is easier for you, and then get to download it. You can use it in your business and surely you will not regret. Paul, we continue to our last point at least.
All right, now we go to 58. Make small improvements to processes. You know, when you listen to processes, often are process by process.
How do we make small improvements?
Here you have to benefit from the aggregation of the marginal gains. And,
I think so it came in very, as I was just saying.
It hits in from the exact tip we are from. Look at your company processes and look for the areas where you can get these small improvements. Can you provide incentives, or can you get people to work a little bit harder? Can you introduce more efficient work practices like time and especially email management, for example? That gives your staff a little more time to get more done. Can you improve on your recruitment? Maybe by selling the company visions better in interviews, making the processes shorter, sending a gift to people you want to offer a job to stand out from offers that may be getting. Now, this is just a short list, but there will be lots of tiny improvements that will all stack up if you start following your businesses through process by process.
Very well. And when you look at improving your recruitment requirement as a way of improvements with the business processes around here, how do you even get to know? How do you measure recruitment process? How do you measure workers that bano abakozi tebankoledde? Otherwise ojja kwesanga every week ogoba muntu because totunze, or every month you're changing or you're adding people on your team. How do you measure? Let's help them out on how they can tell that I now need a recruitment.
Well, now for instance, in most cases here they will tell you, can you get people to work a little bit harder? Can you introduce more efficient work practices for them? In a way that if it's time that is needed, in most cases, if you need time to at least give them a time frame, read the time at which each employee is finishing an assignment, because you may end up firing a number of employees, but then you realize maybe
you're thinking that they are not performing,
but then maybe in the time you're giving them or the time frame that you want the assignment to be done is limited. So you need to give them some good time. And with time to time, you can easily tell that these people are going to follow up. Not only following up, but by you following up on the process. That is why you say take them process by process, in a way that leero muntu aba akoze ekintu kino mu week ogenda olaba akikola
I don't know why you're saying process by process.
No, either way it is going to help them.
Okay.
Nti yengeri gye tusobola okiteekawo mpola mpola nti all the time omuntu amanya nti okay wenkitwala nti ne bwenti nti kuba in a week oyinza obwa abantu assignment nobagamba I need it done by 4 p.m. naye ng'ojagala batandike gikola saa 8 and maybe that assignment needs some good time kati within the whole week ogenda okola assessment nga bagikuwa after a long period of time tugambe gye wabadde olina ofuna 4 p.m. agikuwadde ku 9 p.m. in the night.
I really agree
and then
with
you
you.
get mad at these people, but then you realize nti wogoberera engeri time eyo gyobawaddemu ojamanya nti maybe you need to just adjust on your time and also give them some foundation nti okay wetukikola bwe tuti this angle slowly by slowly, step by step, we may reach there.
Which is why we recently, and we're always advising you, have you done that particular entity or that particular idea? Have you done those sales yourselves before? Have you engaged in that particular production before you even put in someone to help you? So that is the only way you're going to tell someone to effectively do something, because you've done it before. You will know the profit, you will know the net, you will know the sales budget, you will know the time invested, because you have done it before. And there you will have the effective advice that you can give to that fellow person for improvement before you consider recruitment. Exactly, that brings us to the end of our business tip for today and for this particular week. And now we take a short break. We return with updates in terms of news onto your screen, and more will be coming up with the mini documentary and sports.
Smart 24, driving business. All right, now 3 minutes past 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm JORRAM here on SMB as we head into our local and foreign updates as well. Now we do start from Uganda that will join the rest of the world to mark the International Youth Day on 12th August. under a theme transforming food systems for youth innovation as well as human and planetary Earth. Now, with the aim of highlighting the success of such a global effort will not be achieved without the meaningful participation of young people. Now, speaking to journalists at the Uganda Media Center, the Minister of State for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Youth and Children Affairs, Honorable Sarah Mateke Nyirambishi, said this was designed to draw attention to the youth desires and also celebrate their contributions towards national development. Take a look.
Youth Day was designated by United Nations for the governments and partners to draw attention to the issues surrounding the youth, their desires, their aspirations. On top of that, taking up stock of the achievements that the youth have reached, and also celebrate and recognize their contributions to national development. The theme of this year is Youth Innovations for Transformation of Food Systems and Sustainable Human Health. And every year, the government declares the week leading to the celebrations as the Youth Week of Action. We have lined up a number of activities to raise awareness and advocate for the youth in line with the theme, which impels us to position young people in such a manner that leads them to think innovatively, like what the Honorable MP was talking about, and talk about their transformation, especially the transformation on our broken food systems, and ensure food systems and safety and the world free from hunger and malnutrition. What I can say is that issues of the youth are cross-cutting. They are all cross-cutting. If you go to Ministry of Finance, you will find there MYUGA. The MYUGA project is supporting the youth. If you go to education, we are dealing with the youth. Now, if you come to Ministry of Gender, when we go to agriculture, we have operational wealth creation, and the youth are also benefiting from there. And if you go to Ministry of Gender, we have the Youth Livelihood Program, which has been running, and it is still running. If you go to every district, right to the last sub-county, we have their money for the Youth Livelihood Program, and the youth benefit from there. And from our budget this financial year, we have a budget of 164 billion, which is...
All right, then when you listen to stories of MYUGA here and there, you would still wonder whether the youth really benefited from that particular amount. Anyway, now asked about the government, what the government has done towards youth innovation, she did say that the government has set 164 billion from the national budget, which will help them develop. Now, meanwhile, according to the UN, it has been acknowledged that there is a need for inclusive support mechanisms that ensure youth continue to amplify efforts collectively and individually to restore the planet and protect life, while integrating biodiversity in the transformation of food systems. Now, moving on, the Minister of ICT and National Guidance has said that the government disapproval of the land tenure system is non-tribalistic as a group of people had started terming it. Now, during a media address at Uganda Media Center, Honorable Chris Baryomusi said that the government is aiming at securing the rights of the land occupants. Now, the Milo land tenure system is one that includes an inconstant taxation fee on land ownership and presumed squatters that has been practiced in Buganda for over a century. Now, speaking at his 28th coronation anniversary ceremony held at Nkoni Palace in Rengo district on Saturday, the Kabaka of Buganda said it's appalling that whereas other areas do have land, it's only that in Buganda being targeted by different people. Now, earlier this year, President Museveni castigated the Milo land system as he termed it as a bad land policy. Now, take a look at this story.
How do we define the relationship between the landlord, who has the title, but whose land has people who are settled on it called the Vibanja holders. So you cannot say there is no problem with Mairo land unless if you think we are not Ugandans and we don't know the history of this country. So there is a problem, because when people are saying, but evictions are everywhere. Have you had any evictions in Chigezi and Ankole? Why are there no evictions in Chigezi? They are not there because if I own my piece of land, it is mine. I can sell it to you. I can leave it for my children. The only conflicts which are there is if somebody changes the boundary points and so forth. But here you have land where the land tenure system is to the effect that the same piece of land, because of that colonial history, is owned by two people, a landlord and a tenant. Even when we are compensating people, I have been the Minister of Lands, when we are compensating for these roads and other government projects, you have to compensate both the landlord and the tenant on the same piece of land. Actually, we worked out a formula in the ministry where the tenant, the Chibanja holder, is given 60% of the money and the landlord gets 40%. In other words, if this piece of land is Mairo and is valued at 100 million, we want to pass a road and we value it at 100 million, then 60 will go to the tenant, 40 million will go to the landlord. So there is that challenge. So this debate is not about Buganda, it's not about Baganda, it's not about the kingdom. No, it's about the obtaining land tenure system. What do we do to secure the rights of the people settled on this land?
All right, then now we move on to the other story. President Yoweri Museveni has agreed that workers should have midterm access to their savings. Now, Museveni has now directed the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, to make changes to the bill and return it for consent. Now, it has now been agreed that somebody who is 45 years has served for 10 years can access up to 20% of their savings. Now, the commencement date will be set in the statutory instrument with the supervision of the fund is by the Ministry of Finance, while the NSSF MD is a member of the Board of Directors. Now, the Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, said they had already made a brief to President on how they are going to handle this, including the formation of regulations that will govern the way the money will get out. Now, NOTU Chairman General Asha Owere commended the President Museveni for the bold decision and thanked him on behalf of workers of Uganda for listening to their plight. All right, and still moving on as well, the government needs to procure an additional 169 ambulances if all Ugandans are to access emergency services, according to the Health Ministry. Now, Dr. John Baptist Wainaye, the Commissioner in charge of emergency services in the Ministry of Health, says that the available ambulances are insufficient to serve the entire country. He says that due to the limited number of ambulances, the response time to emergencies is poor. Now, a 2020 survey carried out by Makerere University School of Public Health revealed that 70% of ambulances used in the country could not offer any sort of emergency care. Now, most of them lacked equipment or medical supplies and trained personnel. Now, they were found to be emergency transport vehicles but could not save a life. And then moving on, President Museveni has asked members of parliament to support proposed amendments to the Land Act. Now, Museveni's request was communicated by Prime Minister Robin Nabbanja to chairpersons, deputy chairpersons, and different regional whips of the ruling National Resistance Movement Party, the NRM. Now, this happened in Parliament. This was during a meeting at the office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday during their training workshop. Now, according to Nabbanja, the President, in his message to the MPs, talked about the proposed amendment of the Land Act, saying that the law should be amended so that Bibanja owners can pay their usulu at sub-county in case the landlords of their agents are not available. Now, she also said that the president is concerned about the money leaders, the money lenders who make the people sign land sales agreements before advancing them the loans. Now, the president's appeal comes 2 days after he held a closed-door meeting with Kabaka of Buganda at Nakasero State Lodge on Tuesday. Now, lastly, in our local updates, Buganda Road Chief Magistrates Court has fined 33 men 20,000 Ugandan shillings each in default to spend a week in jail for breach of curfew time. Now, the group during an audio-visual session presided over by the magistrate, Fedels Otwao, pleaded guilty to the charges of disobedience of lawful orders. Now, during mitigation, the convicts pleaded with the court to sentence them to caution on grounds that they are first-time offenders. Now, prosecution told court that the convicts on July 21st, 2021 were arrested in Kampala streets loitering during curfew time, contrary to presidential directives to contain criminality during the virus-induced lockdown. Now that ends up our local updates here on SMB. Now we head into our international story where we head to Nigeria now, as Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority NCIA has begun putting together its funds management thinking cap to raise $200 million to settle the Chinese fund that won an arbitration against Nigeria over an initial $5 billion Mambira power project. Now, the hunt for the money followed a directive by President Muhammadu Buhari that the source of money within its pool of investment funds. Now, the settlement became necessary for the International Court of Arbitration in Paris, awarded in favor of Sunrise Power and Transmission Company Limited. One Chinese firm initially awarded the Mambila Hydro project in Taraba State, which was later given to a Chinese firm in breach of an existing contract. Now that on SMB, we head into the forex rates here as they are trading in town. We start with the US dollar that is buying at 3,455 while selling at 3,586 shillings. We head to the Great Britain pound that is buying at 4,781 while selling at 4,992. Now the euro is buying 3,989 while selling at 4,271. Meanwhile, the Kenyan shilling is buying at 30.08 shillings while selling at 34.32 shillings. Now the Rwandese franc is buying at 2.37 shillings while selling at 5.15 shillings. Then lastly, the Tanzanian shilling is buying at 1.24 shillings while selling at 1.84 shillings. Now that ends up our local and foreign updates here on Smart Mates Business. I'm JORRAM SSONKO. Good morning.